One house costs $1, another is worth more than 1 billion. That is a billion times difference. But both have walls, a roof, and a place to sleep. So what happens between $1 and 1 billion? Do the rooms just get bigger? Does the kitchen slowly turn into gold? Or does something else happen when a home becomes more expensive than a skyscraper? Today, we are climbing every level of home, starting with the cheapest house you can technically buy. And at the final level, we will reach a home so large that it needs hundreds of people just to keep it running. Home prices change constantly depending on the country, the city, and the market. So think of these as example prices for each level. Let's start with $1. A $1 house sounds like the greatest deal in real estate. Then you see the roof. In a few small towns in Italy, abandoned homes have been offered for €1, which is close enough to $1. These towns have been losing people for years. Young residents leave for bigger cities. Older residents pass away. Their homes sit empty and slowly fall apart. So the local government tries something unusual. It sells the houses for almost nothing. The catch is that you must fix them. You may have to submit a renovation plan, pay a deposit, and finish the work within a few years. And these houses need a lot of work. Some have broken windows, missing roofs, cracked walls, and no working plumbing. The house may cost $1. Making it livable can cost tens of thousands. So level 1 does not give you a cheap home. It gives you a very expensive project with a very cheap entrance fee. But what if you want a home that already has a roof? Level 10, $100,000. At around $100,000, you can buy a manufactured home. This is a real house with a kitchen, a bathroom, bedrooms, heating, and electricity. The difference is how it is built. Instead of sending workers to a construction site for months, much of the house is built inside a factory. It is then transported to the land and installed. Factories can build the same design again and again. That cuts time, labor, and waste. This is one of the cheapest ways to buy a new home in America, but the price tag can be misleading. The land may not be included. Neither are the cost of delivery, installation, utility connections, or the foundation. If the home sits inside a manufactured home community, you may own the house but still pay rent for the land under it. So a $100,000 home can become much more expensive before anyone moves in. Still, it is ready to live in. That already puts it far above our $1 ruin. Now let's move to the kind of house many first-time buyers actually search for. Level 25, $250,000. At $250,000, you may find a small house in an affordable part of the United States. It could have 2 or 3 bedrooms, a small yard, and enough parking for 1 car. It may also be older than you are. The roof could need replacing. The furnace may be near the end of its life. The kitchen might look like it has not changed since 1987. And there is usually another catch. The house may be far from the places where most people want to live. Maybe the nearest major city is an hour away. Maybe the local job market is small. Maybe the schools are not especially popular. Cheap homes usually exist where land is cheap. And land is cheap when fewer people are competing for it. But this level offers something the cheaper homes often do not. You own both the house and the ground under it. That means the home can rise in value over time. Of course, most buyers do not arrive with $250,000 in cash. They bring a down payment and borrow the rest. So they are not just buying a house. They are also signing up for years of mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, and repairs. The price on the listing is only the beginning. Level 40, $400,000. Around $400,000 brings us close to the price of a typical new home in America. Now the house looks familiar. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a garage, a small backyard, new appliances, fresh paint. Nothing is falling apart. Nothing is covered in gold either. It is just a normal new house. But buying it is not normal for most incomes. A buyer may need tens of thousands of dollars for the down payment and closing costs. Then come the monthly payments. With a 30-year mortgage, interest can add hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life of the loan. And because you own the home, every problem belongs to you. A leaking roof is your problem. A broken air conditioner is your problem. A tree falling through the garage is definitely your problem. Renters pay for a place to live. Homeowners pay for the building, the land, the interest, the taxes, and every future surprise hiding inside the walls. That is why a $400,000 house can cost far more than $400,000. Now let's cross the $1 million line. This is where house prices start becoming strange. Level 60, $1 million. What does a $1 million home look like? That depends entirely on where you put it. In a small city, $1 million might buy a huge house with 6 bedrooms, a pool, and several acres of land. In San Francisco, New York, or Los Angeles, it might buy an ordinary home with a small kitchen and neighbors close enough to hear you sneeze. The house did not suddenly become worse. The location became more expensive. At this level, the building itself is only part of what you are buying. You are buying the school district, the commute, the view, the safety of the neighborhood, and the right to live close to restaurants, offices, beaches, or parks. A builder can always build another house. They cannot build another piece of land in the exact same place. That is why an old house in the right neighborhood can cost more than a new mansion in the wrong one. $1 million sounds like mansion money. Sometimes it is just location money. But at $5 million, the house itself finally starts showing off. Level 80. $5 million. This is the level most people imagine when they hear the word luxury. The house is designed by an architect. The ceilings are taller, the windows are larger, the kitchen has appliances that cost as much as a car. There may be a pool, a home theater, a gym, a wine room, and a garage for several vehicles. The main bedroom is no longer just a bedroom. It becomes a private section of the house with its own bathroom, dressing room, balcony, and sitting area. Guests may have their own wing. Staff may have separate entrances. The home is no longer designed only for living. It is designed for entertaining people while keeping them away from the private parts of the house. But a $5 million home also creates $5 million problems. The pool needs cleaning, the garden needs workers, the security system needs monitoring. The heating and cooling bills can be enormous. Property tax, insurance, maintenance, and staff can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Buying the house is only the first test. You also need enough money to keep owning it. And $5 million is still nowhere near the top. Level 90, $25 million. At $25 million, we enter the world of celebrities, CEOs, and professional athletes. These homes are often hidden behind gates, walls, trees, and security cameras. Privacy becomes one of the main features. The property may include a guest house, a tennis court, a recording studio, a private spa, or an underground garage. Some have backup generators, water storage, panic rooms, and security teams. At this point, the house begins operating like a small hotel. There are people cleaning it, repairing it, protecting it, and maintaining the grounds. And the owner may not even live there most of the year. Very wealthy people often own several homes. One near the office, one near the beach, one in the mountains, maybe one in another country. The $25 million house is not always a permanent home. Sometimes it is a very expensive place to spend 3 weeks every summer. But even this level is still tied to things we understand: land, size, privacy, staff, and location. The next house is priced for something much harder to copy. Level 95, $238 million. In 2019, a penthouse in Manhattan sold for about $238 million. It became the most expensive home ever sold in the United States at the time. The home covers about 24,000 square feet across 4 floors. That is larger than many supermarkets. But size alone does not explain the price. You could build a house that large almost anywhere for much less money. What you cannot easily copy is the address. The penthouse sits inside 220 Central Park South, directly beside Central Park. It is high above Manhattan with open views across one of the most expensive pieces of land on Earth. Only one buyer can own those exact floors in that exact building with that exact view. That is what makes it valuable. At the highest end of real estate, buyers are not comparing the number of bedrooms. They are buying something that cannot be recreated. This is also where asking prices can become nonsense. A massive mansion in Los Angeles called The One was once expected to list for $500 million. It had about 105,000 square feet of space, multiple pools, a nightclub, a private theater, and enough room to feel like a shopping mall. But the developer ran into financial trouble, and the property went to auction. It sold for $126 million before fees. Still an incredible amount of money, but nowhere near $500 million. A giant house is not automatically worth whatever its owner wants. Even billionaires can say, that is too expensive. And now we have reached the final level, a home that has never really been put on the market. Level 100, $1 billion plus. This is Antilia. It stands in Mumbai, India, and belongs to billionaire Mukesh Ambani and his family. Calling it a house feels slightly ridiculous. It is 27 stories tall and contains roughly 400,000 square feet of space. That is larger than the White House. There is reported space for 168 cars, along with a theater, pools, gardens, a spa, and helipads. It even has a snow room designed to create artificial snow inside one of the hottest major cities in the world. Hundreds of workers are reportedly needed to keep the building running. Antilia is often valued at more than $1 billion, but that number needs an explanation. No one bought Antilia for $1 billion. It was built for one family and has never been sold on the open market. Its value is an estimate based on the land, the construction, the location, and what it might cost to build something similar. And there may be no other buyer who actually wants a 27-story private home in Mumbai. That is the strange thing about the most expensive homes. The more personal and unusual they become, the harder they are to price. At $1, the price barely covers the paperwork. At $100,000, the home is built as efficiently as possible. Around $400,000, it becomes the largest purchase of an ordinary person's life. At $1 million, location can matter more than the building. At $5 million, you begin buying space, privacy, and service. Above $100 million, you are buying something almost no one else can own. And at $1 billion, the home is no longer just a place to live. It becomes a monument to the person who owns it. Every house gives you a roof, a door, and somewhere to sleep. The rest of the price comes from everything around those three things: the land, the city, the space, the privacy, and at the very top, the right to say that no one else has anything like it.